Next up we have Gudmundur Stefansson, also from Penn State, who will be talking about high-precision radio blast measurements.
Yeah, my name is Gudmundur. I'm also going to be talking about HPF, but more precisely the environmental control aspect, and I'm going to show you guys why it's very, very important if you want to do high-precision radial velocity work, why it's very important to have exquisite environmental control. And HPF is really kind of pushing the boundaries of what has been done in this area. Oh wait, just very quickly, I think we can all agree on that finding planets is exciting, and that's why we're here, right? We found 1,500 planets and counting with different methods. I'm just going to be focusing on the radial velocity method, which HPF uses, and we're really getting better at it. This plot shows the masses of planets found with the radial velocity method as a function of discovery year. We're finding more planets every year and also lower mass ones. And this is the range where HPF is going to focus on low mass planets in the habitable zones of mid to late M dwarfs. Why M dwarfs? Well, M dwarfs are great for our purposes. They're the most numerous stars in the galaxy, our closest neighbors, and they're also dimmer than the sun, which makes the habitable zone, the blue streak over here, move closer to the star, making them detectable, making planets in the habitable zone detectable with current technology. Just like Sam mentioned, HARPS has really been the gold standard for the longest time in the field, achieving a precision of about 1 meter per second. However, HARPS works in the optical, when M dwarfs really peak in the near-infrared. So using near-infrared detectors is a lot more promising route to go and study planets in the habitable zones of M dwarfs. And this is really why HPF is being built. HPF is going to have then the same goal precision as HARPS is achieving currently, but then in the infrared. This has a lot of design differences to it because, yeah, HPF is using different technology, and the pressure stability and the temperature stability really have to be in a completely different league to what HARPS it has. We see here the pressure stability is about 4 or 5 orders of magnitude better for HPF than HARPS, and about an order of magnitude in the temperature stability. And I'll show you guys really why this, especially the temperature stability, is very important, just with an example. So here is the shell, the heart of the instrument. It's a big hunk of glass, very expensive glass, that has gratings, gratings on it. Or it is a grating that has grooves on it that diffract the light to make a cell spectrum. I added this top part, and this is what a cell spectrum pretty much looks like. The glass that we use is called zero Dor. It's a very expensive glass. It's called zero Dor because the coefficient of thermal expansion is almost zero, but not exactly zero. So, given a temperature change, the length of the shell is actually going to vary just a bit, but changing the length of the shell is going to change the groove spacing, which is going to change and shift the spectrum. And this results in radial velocity precision loss. So we can calculate for HPF that a change in about 10 millikelvins results in about 60 centimeters per second fluctuation. And this is then really eating up your error budget if you want to try to approach 1 meter per second precision. Then HPF's goal is to just take this out of the equation by having exquisite thermal stability we're shooting for less than or about 1 millikelvin. And then just a quick rundown of how the environmental control system looks like and how it works. The optics sit on an optical bench inside the radiation shield, which is this yellow box here made out of aluminum. It's cooled with liquid nitrogen, coupled to it with these thermal straps made out of copper. The copper straps are sized so the radiation shield is cooled down to about 160, 170 Kelvin. And then we have an assortment of heater panels that are hooked up to a thermal control system and temperature sensors that will heat up the radiation shield to the operating temperature of 180 Kelvin. And this temperature control, these sensors and heater panels are then what can compensate for any changes in thermal variations. And then this is, let me go one back. Then all of this is enclosed in multi-layer insulation blankets. I have a sample here made in-house and carefully tailored by some of the graduate students and people in the team. You can meet me afterwards and show it to you, and you can feel what it feels like. It's the same material that is used on spacecraft. And then all of this is put into a vacuum-cryostat with an exquisite vacuum. The vacuum then cuts out all convection, and we only really have to worry about the radiative load on the radiation field. And then all this is encased in a thermal enclosure that is at Habitable telescope. And then just to show you what it actually looks like in real life, here is the radiation shield covered in MLI, and some HPF team members were sized. And this is the cryostat. Then the radiation shield goes inside the cryostat, and then inside the thermal enclosure in the basement of the Habitable telescope. This is then what the aluminum radiation shield actually looks like, with the heater panels over here, the stop sign looking things. And here is a result of a thermal model that we ran. The copper straps are cold, liquid nitrogen temperature here, and then they cool down to about 160, 180, and then the heater panels heat the radiation shield up to 180 Kelvin, and we get it's almost uniformly 180 Kelvin with a stable gradient of 700 millikelvin. But note here, this gradient will be kept stable with millikelvin precision. And a quick note on the thermal enclosure. We went to Habitable telescope last November and installed it. The purpose of this enclosure is just to pretty much equalize any temperature variations inside the spectrograph room. We then put up sensors outside the enclosure and inside, and here is the high frequency temperature variations due to the HVAC system in there, and we see that it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It stabilizes the temperature fluctuations. And then the active thermal control system can account for these low kind of frequency variations. And then just a few photos from the integration. HPF is currently in mid-integration phase. So we have a machine shop in New York State where the cryostat is, and here HPF team members are putting the radiation shield inside the cryostat. And it is helpful to have a fork truck to do the heavy lifting. And here we're just closing it up. And hopefully we can then be finished with this the plan is to be finished with the integration in about 1 or 2 months, and then we can ship it to Penn State, where we can start to test out the environmental control system and really demonstrate the performance that it needs to have. And then I'll just leave my summary slide up here. I'll be happy to take questions.
Any questions?
In addition to the thermal control of your radiation shield, do the individual optical components have their own active thermal control to keep them stable, or are they just passively?
No, we control the radiation shield, and then there's a complete vacuum, so there's they're just coupled to the radiation shield with just black body radiation between.
Any other questions?
Just curious, like when you have something this sensitive, how much do things get messed up when you transport it across the country? Like, do you see a difference in?
Yeah, well, we have to account for like different pressure variations, just atmospheric pressure that will then change the actual boil-off temperature of liquid nitrogen. So we have to really go down to the nitty-gritty details to actually get to this temperature stability, and that's why we really need active control, which will have very exquisitely sensitive temperature sensors, so then we can just compensate for these things.
All right, let's thank him again.